Welcome into the program. Bill Reiter with your Writer's Block. We have a great show planned for you. One of the best young studs in basketball, soon to be college basketball next year. James Wiseman will be on the program, along with Jaren Jackson Jr. from the Memphis Grizzlies. We've got a lot to tackle, including the richest contract in the history of sports. All of that starts right now from New York City. Rip up the records. We have a new standard for what it is and what it looks like to pay remarkably talented athletes a remarkable amount of money. Congratulations, Mike Trout and Angels fans. The richest deal in the history of major American sports. 12 years, $430 million. Nearly half a $billion man is going to be in Anaheim for a very long time. There are a lot of reasons, and we'll get into most of them, that Mike Trout got paid before opening day and got paid a lot of money for a long time. But we'll take it back to the big deal a few weeks ago when Bryce Harper became a Philly for also not a small chunk of change. He reminded everybody pretty directly when he went on local radio in Philadelphia how much Trout's going to be coveted, in Harper's case, how willing he was to be part of trying to bring him out of Anaheim when his contract was up in a few years.
If you don't think I'm not going to call Mike Trout in 2020 to have him come to Philly, you're crazy.
We heard you. The Angels heard you. You're going to have to wait a little bit longer, Bryce, to call up Trout and try to lure him your way. He's going to be an Angel for almost the entirety of his career, almost certainly the entirety of his career. The other reason the Angels did this is because this guy is really, really good. Breaking news, huh? CBS Sports HQ, bring you the breaking news. Mike Trout, good at baseball. Let me just give you some of the statistical realities behind this deal and Trout's excellence. This is last year in the majors categories. Trout led the majors in offensive WAR, on base percentage, OPS, offensive win percentage, adjusted OPS plus, adjusted batting runs, adjusted batting wins, times on base, intentional bases on balls. And those are just the categories, folks, in which he led the majors. Let me give you a few where he was close. Second in WAR. Second in stolen base percentage, third in slugging percentage, third in at-bats per home run, fourth in home runs, fifth in the power speed number, which basically factors in your ability to do both those things really, really well. Mike Trout is an all-timer, and even though we're given often to hyperbole in 2019 in all parts of American culture, and certainly sports, there is not a comp you can throw out there from the long history of baseball that isn't reasonable. Whether it's Ted Williams or a modern-day Babe Ruth, the idea that this guy is another level, transcendent hitter who's redefining excellence isn't just in the $430 million that he got, it's in the numbers we gave you. And by the way, Trout is 27 years old. He probably hasn't hit his prime yet, and already in the history of the game, just historically, I won't give you 15 of them, but I'll give you a few things to give you a sense of where he is right now in the history of baseball. All time, 11th in career slugging percentage, 9th in career OPS. He's tied for 5th in career adjusted OPS plus, and 9th in career offensive win percentage. This is a guy who is on another level. So the question becomes, what can the Angels be now they've locked in not just the best baseball player of this era, but one of the best ball players we've ever seen? It's an interesting question. Over the next few years, probably not more than what they've been. They were a middling team last year, 80 and 82. They were mediocre in most of the categories in 2018, 23rd in hits, 15th in runs, 20th in batting average, 20th in on-base percentage, 16th in OPS, which means they have the most dynamic offensive threat in the game, and their offense still isn't very good. It's not a great baseball team. But there's a lot of things out there, if you're an Angels fan, that can make you optimistic. Yes, they're burdened with that Pujols contract for another 3 years. But Shohei Ohtani, who's not going to pitch this year, is a promising young player. And interestingly, and I think this is the really important stat, of the Angels' top 30 prospects in their minor league system, 17 of them are 22 or younger. So like with the Padres and Machado, but on a longer timeline, this is an organization that should be able to, over the next 3 to 6 years, continue to bring up guys and augment the talent around Mike Trout with some ridiculous help. Are the Angels going to win a World Series this year? No, they're not. Are they going to win a World Series next year? That's very unlikely. But 3 or 4 or 5 years from now is a realistic game plan and timeline, which is reasonable when you give a guy 12 more years and $500 million. You've got time to try to make it work. It's also interesting what it means for baseball contracts and the business of baseball for organizations around the country who have some big-time talent that they may want to lock in before their deals are up. And Mike Scioscia, formerly the skipper of the Angels before he stepped down, was on the program a year ago here on Writer's Block and talked a little bit about not just Trout, but the massive talent that's out there.
Right now, when you look at all the young players, Machado, Correa, and you look, Mike, a couple of years ago, Bryce Harper. These guys are special talents. Bryant with the Cubs. These guys are going to be guys that are going to make some big footprints in this game when it's all said and done. And we're happy to have the cream of the crop with us.
Scioscia wasn't wrong, and that press conference looks almost like a psychic look ahead, because as you can see here, the guys that he mentioned there, that young talent, have gotten paid and locked into some long-term deals. Harper a few weeks ago, Trout today, Stanton, Machado with the Padres, and it's going to be an interesting question and situation for the next silly contracts that need to be lavished on some of these young players if their organizations want to keep them. Guys like Mookie Betts, guys like Chris Bryant, guys like Aaron Judge, there's a lot of them around the majors. In fact, here in New York City, there's a radio station, WFAN, Fans, big station. All they're talking about today on the radio is, should we give Aaron Judge a silly, ridiculous, overwhelming amount of money right now? And the complicating factor here, too, is going to be Trout was at a place that he liked playing. There was no drama. He had a connection to that organization. A lot of general managers and organizations around baseball have manipulated the service time of their guys. Take Chris Bryant with my Cubs, who have made it very clear they're not happy about it. They could be playing hardball in the years ahead. And a quick thought before we transition to our guests. Baseball has a remarkable talent in Mike Trout, no doubt, but it also has a salesmanship problem. If you look at local television ratings around the country in local markets, whether you're in Kansas City or Los Angeles or Minnesota or New York, for the most part, baseball crushes in the demos that advertisers want, in that 20 and 30 range, even in sweeps. But nationally, baseball doesn't. It's become a niche sport. Is Trout someone who's never won a playoff game, by the way? Let that sink in. Mike Trout has never won a playoff game. That time of the year where most of the country, you would hope, is paying attention to teams that aren't their own. This is the opportunity not just for Trout to make a bunch of money and the Angels to lock him in, but maybe baseball and the commissioner to stop telling guys like Mike Trout to market themselves, but to recognize they have to market their own talent, which won't be easy because they're on the West Coast. We've seen NBA ratings slip because LeBron's in Los Angeles. A lot of folks on the East Coast go to sleep. So good news for Trout, good news for Mookie Betts and Chris Bryant and Aaron Judge whenever they decide to do new deals. But for baseball, you've got to lock in fans, not just your talent. We've got two guests today, kind of excited. Jaren Jackson Jr. from Memphis, and a very special surprise with a very young man who's winning one of the most prestigious awards in sports. We'll talk to both those guys here on the program, Writer's Block with me, Bill Reiter, in just a minute. All right, welcome back into the show. Bill Reiter with you. You know Jaren Jackson from the Grizzlies. If you don't already, you're going to know James Wiseman, one of the best young high school basketball players in the country, top recruit going to Memphis very soon. And really, really excited to have them join the program now. Thank you, Jaren, and to the 2019 Gatorade National Boys Basketball Player of the Year, James. Thank you and congratulations.
Thanks. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Really exciting. All right, so James, just on the basketball side with this award, we've seen guys like LeBron James, Kevin Love, Jason Tatum, R.J. Barrett win this thing. What's it feel like to be in that kind of company right now?
I mean, it's great. It's great for the Eastside community. It's great for me. It's great for my teammates that have pushed me in practice every day. So really, it's just a true testament to my hard work and dedication throughout my whole high school career. So for me to win this award is a true blessing.
It's really cool and it's really exciting. And I'm curious, Jaren, have you given James any advice Any perspectives on how to take that massive talent and continue the journey, hopefully to where you are in the NBA?
Yeah, mostly I just told him to stay humble and focus on what's important. There's not really much I got to give him because he's got such a secure base around him. He's got a bunch of people to lean on, and he's got Penny next year. So, he's got a bunch of people to look to for that. But, definitely key in on those two things.
Yeah, James, speaking of Penny Hardaway, he's done an amazing job at Memphis, recruiting guys, coaching guys up. Can you give us some insight? A lot of schools were vying for your services. You obviously had a lot of options. What was it about Coach Hardaway, about Memphis, that ultimately was a place you wanted to be?
The University of Memphis, they got a great coaching staff this year with Sam Mitchell and Mike Miller and Penny Hardaway himself. So for me to just learn as much as possible and just learn from the great players there at the University of Memphis, it would be great for me, and it would elevate my game tremendously.
James, what is the pitch? What is the pull when a guy like Penny Hardaway, not just a coach, but obviously someone with experience being a great basketball player at the NBA level, what is the appeal of a guy like that being someone you can turn to for your collegiate career?
Penny Hardaway is a great guy. He was my high school coach last year, and he taught me a lot. And when I came to East High School last year, my talent went up tremendously. So for me to just learn from him this year and go to the University of Memphis, it'd be great for my game. And I also learned a lot from him because he's an ex-NBA legend. So it'd be great for me in my game.
And James, for folks who aren't familiar with your style of play, who are the players out there that you study, that you model your game after, that you watch and hope to emulate and play like down the line?
This guy right here sitting beside me, Jaren Jackson. I learned a lot from him. I watched a lot of his film on YouTube. But really, Giannis, Chris Bosh, and just I say kind of like just a little bit of David Robinson, but just ex-NBA greats. I study a lot of great bigs. So.
Now, is part of the Gatorade Player of the Year, National Boys Basketball Player of the Year, do you guys get in a gym and do a little like one-on-one? I know there wouldn't be video, but have you guys, gone after each other a little bit in the gym yet?
Yeah, sure. We got other stuff going on. He's got McDonald's. He's busy. I'm busy. I gotta focus on my team and what I'm doing. So, the time will come. I'm gonna be seeing him the rest of my life. Playing this game. We're both fortunate to have these abilities that God gave us, and we're both gonna maximize our potential in two different paths, two different ways, but same sport, same goals, same everything. It's gonna be good.
All right, so hopefully next year we'll be seeing James in the tournament. Jaren, I got to ask you a little bit about Michigan State. How are you feeling about the draw? Some folks a little frustrated. What should have been, if not a 1 seed, the top 2 seed in the same side of the bracket with Duke, which is the top 1 seed. What was your take when you saw the committee's decision?
Gotta respect their decision. You don't gotta like it, but you gotta respect it. I felt like, definitely we were the best 2 seed, and we shouldn't have, maybe the positions could have been a little different. But, if you focus on the positives, we got a Big Ten championship share. We won the tournament. So, Izzo's doing his thing. I definitely think his feet are up right now on his desks, before he has to get in game mode and March mode. I definitely think he's enjoying what has already happened, but it's not over yet.
Every single year that I fell out of bracket, when it all goes badly, I kick myself for not remembering that I'm not supposed to doubt Izzo. Every year, I hate myself. I'm not making that mistake this year. Can you give us some insight what it is about his approach, his coaching, his program, his assistants, whatever it is that's led to so much success at Michigan State?
Oh, I think because, when guys first come in, he's a tough-minded coach. It's hard to play for him if you're not mentally tough. You have to, or he's going to build that inside you. And I think as people get used to that culture and, being pushed like that, you kind of, the level you play at, you're used to playing at such a high level that late in the season, you got a motor that, can't be matched. You're kind of just it's just you're used to it, and you're just going, you're playing hard, and defense wins championships. So that's why he gets as far as he does.
All right, Jaren, you got a lot going on, but in fact, James too, both you guys, if you guys have a Final Four, if you fill out a bracket yet, can you give us each of your Final Fours?
We're in it. So, shoot, I don't know the regions like that. But I know we're in it. We're winning it. Yeah.
I'll tell you, that's enough for me. Michigan State, I need to win one of these brackets for one of these days. Well, guys, appreciate the time. Jaren, continued good luck with the Grizz. And James, congratulations on the award, man. Good luck at Memphis. And thanks to both of you for making some time.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Appreciate it.
All right. Appreciate both those gentlemen. Jaren Jackson Jr. from the Memphis Grizzlies and James Wiseman, top recruit, going to Memphis. And now the 2019 Gatorade National Boys Basketball Player of the Year. Thanks to them. Thanks to Gatorade. I've got Duke over Michigan State, but I feel like it's a mistake. Every time I take Michigan State and have them lose, they go at least one game further. Really appreciate those guys. We're going to go inside the numbers. Speaking of the NBA, on an NBA team that has been under the radar, why do we keep doubting the Spurs? They've won a bunch of games in a row. We'll try to get some insight onto why that is and what it means when we come back to the show here in just a minute. All right, welcome back into the show. Writer's Block here on CBS Sports HQ. Thanks for hanging out. We don't want one of the most interesting stories that's already been under the radar to remain there because of all the things going on in sports. I want to talk a little bit about the Spurs. They're actually the hottest team in the NBA right now. They've won 9 straight after beating the Warriors yesterday. Over the weekend, they accomplished some amazing feats after securing another winning season. So we're going to go inside the numbers on the most underappreciated team and dynasty of this century, the Spurs. If we start at the number 22, after Saturday's win over Portland, San Antonio secured a winning record for the 22nd consecutive season. The only other sports franchise, the longer streak, is the Yankees at 26, and obviously 22 and counting for the Spurs. Next up is 65. That's the number of days, the total days, the Spurs have owned a losing record since the 96-97 season. Think about that. The next closest team is the Rockets at 1,007. Greg Popovich is, as you might have heard, pretty good at his job. How about 1,166? The Spurs have the most wins over this stretch at 1,166, which is 184 clear of the next closest competitor. 701 is next up on the Spurs-themed Inside the Numbers. In this stretch of 22 consecutive seasons with a winning record, the Spurs have a win percentage of 701. It's absurd, too. The next closest is the Mavericks at 590. And finally, 81. San Antonio has had 35 seasons with a winning record in their 43 years of existence. That means in 81% of their seasons that they've played, they have won more games than they have lost. There's so many ways to hit this, and yet I don't think we appreciate the remarkable genius, the greatness of Greg Popovich. We're talking about the Raptors all the time, and they're really good. But they got Kawhi Leonard. Spurs lose him. They get DeMar DeRozan, not the same level player. Plug and play. They're amazing. Wow, Greg Popovich, we are not worthy. A couple playing games tonight, so I want to give you some lines, and I'll be bold enough to make a couple picks on some 16 seeds and some 11 seeds. And we start, first up, Dickinson against Prairie View. This is kind of interesting. 2/3 of the money is on Dickinson. I'm going to fade the public. Give me Prairie View, baby. Give me the Panthers. Both those teams probably not long for the tournament, regardless of who wins tonight. And finally, Temple versus Belmont. Belmont is kind of the sexy pick here. The only 55% of the money is on them. Temple's obviously a bigger program, a little bit more history. I like Belmont. I like the Bruins to actually maybe win a couple games. So I'm going to go with the Bruins and the Panthers in our play-in games, what we're supposed to call even though I don't like it, the first round of the NCAA tournament. Thank you for hanging out. Appreciate you very much. We've got you covered going back down to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, one of our 2 bases of operation, to catch up on what is trending in sports. I'm sure they'll be talking about Mike Trout. In fact, I'm going to be on the very top of that show, so I'll see you in 2 minutes. And then 30 minutes from now, Sportsline's got you covered. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for being here.